If everything was taken from you tomorrow, your comfort, your excuses, your safety, would there be anything left? The Stoics believed most people never become strong because they spend their lives avoiding discomfort. Strength is not given. It is forged. In this video, you'll discover 10 ruthless Stoic rules that strip away weakness, delusion, and emotional dependency, and force you to become the strongest version of yourself. And by the end, I'll show you how some people apply these same principles not just to their mind, but to their income, their freedom, and their independence. If you're serious about building real independence, not just mental, but financial, I've placed a resource in the description that teaches exactly that. No hype, just structure. Act 1, the deconstruction. Let's begin with an uncomfortable truth. You are not born weak. Weakness is learned. From the moment you were old enough to understand, the world began teaching you to be soft, to seek comfort, to avoid pain, to need validation, to fear judgment, to depend on systems you don't control. And most people never question it. They wake up in a warm bed, scroll through their phone for dopamine, eat food they didn't hunt, wear clothes they didn't make, work jobs they don't own, and wonder why they feel powerless. The modern world is designed to make you comfortable, and comfort is the enemy of strength. A comfortable man does not prepare. He does not adapt. He does not grow. He simply waits for someone else to solve his problems. And when reality hits, when the job disappears, when the relationship ends, when the comfort vanishes, he collapses. Because he was never strong. He was just protected. The Stoics understood this 2,000 years ago. They saw that a weak mind is easy to control. A distracted mind is easy to manipulate. A dependent mind is easy to enslave. So they created a philosophy, not of suffering, but of strength. Not of avoidance, but of mastery. And they built it on rules. Ruthless ones. Rules that demanded discipline when the world demanded indulgence. Rules that required silence when the world demanded attention. Rules that forced action when the world encouraged waiting. These rules were not created to make life easier. They were created to make you unbreakable. And that's what we're going to explore right now. 10 ruthless Stoic rules that will strip away the illusions, destroy the excuses, and force you to become the strongest version of yourself. Let's begin. Act 2, the 10 ruthless rules. Rule 1, accept pain or remain weak. The first rule is simple. Pain is the price of strength. You cannot become strong without resistance. You cannot build muscle without weight. You cannot sharpen a blade without friction. And you cannot forge mental strength without discomfort. Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man in Rome, woke up every morning and reminded himself of this. He wrote in his journal that life would be hard, that people would betray him, that challenges would arise. But he didn't complain. He prepared, because he understood that pain is not the enemy. Avoidance is. Most people run from discomfort their entire lives. They avoid difficult conversations. They quit when things get hard. They choose the easy path, the safe path, the comfortable path. And then they wonder why they feel weak. Here's the truth. Every time you choose comfort over growth, you reinforce weakness. Every time you avoid pain, you train yourself to be fragile. The Stoics did the opposite. They practiced voluntary discomfort. They slept on hard floors. They fasted. They exposed themselves to cold. Not because they enjoyed suffering, but because they refused to be controlled by comfort. If you want to become strong, you must do the same. You must seek discomfort. You must embrace the hard path. You must accept that pain is not something to avoid, it's something to use. Because strength begins where comfort dies. Rule 2. Control yourself or be controlled. The second rule is about power. Real power. Most people think power comes from controlling others. It doesn't. Real power comes from controlling yourself. Epictetus, who was born a slave, understood this better than anyone. He had no control over his circumstances, no control over his body, no control over his freedom. But he had control over one thing, his mind. And he realized that as long as he controlled his mind, no one could truly enslave him. He said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Think about that. If you cannot control your emotions, your impulses, your reactions, then you are not free. You are a slave to whatever triggers you. Someone insults you, and you react. Someone criticizes you, and you collapse. Someone tempts you, and you give in. You are not in control. You're being controlled. The Stoics trained themselves to remain calm in chaos, focused in distraction, disciplined in temptation. Not because they were emotionless, but because they refused to be ruled by emotion. If you want real power, start here. Master your impulses. Control your reactions. Discipline your mind. Because if you don't control yourself, someone else will. Rule 3. Detach from praise and criticism. The third rule is about freedom from opinion. Most people are prisoners of what others think. They crave praise. They fear criticism. They shape their entire lives around the approval of people who don't even matter. And it destroys them. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire. Millions of people had opinions about him. Some praised him. Some hated him. Some plotted against him. And he wrote this: "It never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinion than our own." He saw the trap. The moment you need praise, you become weak. The moment you fear criticism, you become controlled. Because praise is addictive. It feels good. It validates you. And the more you need it, the more you will change yourself to get it. Criticism works the same way. If you fear it, you will avoid risk. You will hide. You will shrink yourself to avoid judgment. The Stoics refused both. They didn't seek praise. They didn't fear criticism. They simply acted according to their principles, regardless of opinion. And that gave them a power most people will never experience: the power of indifference. If you want to be free, you must detach from praise and criticism. You must stop performing for an audience. You must stop shaping your life around the approval of others. Do what is right, not what is popular, because the opinion of others is a prison you choose to enter. Rule 4. Eliminate emotional dependency. The fourth rule is brutal and necessary. Most people are emotionally dependent. They need someone to validate them. They need someone to make them feel secure. They need someone to give them purpose. And the moment that person leaves, they collapse. Seneca, one of the wealthiest and most powerful men in Rome, lost everything multiple times: his wealth, his position, his freedom. But he never lost himself, because he understood that emotional dependency is weakness. The moment you need someone to feel whole, you're no longer whole. He wrote, "A man who suffers before it is necessary suffers more than is necessary." Most people suffer because they are attached to outcomes, attached to people, attached to comfort. And when those things disappear, they fall apart. The Stoics trained themselves to be self-sufficient. Not cold, not unloving, but unshakable. They loved deeply, but they never needed. They connected, but they never depended, because they knew that true strength comes from within, not from external validation, not from someone else's presence, not from circumstances aligning perfectly. That if you are emotionally dependent, you are vulnerable. You can be manipulated. You can be controlled. You can be broken. But if you are self-sufficient, you are free. So eliminate emotional dependency. Build your foundation within yourself. Love others, but never need them to survive. Because the strongest man is the one who stands alone, even in a crowd. Rule 5. Master your inner dialogue. The fifth rule is about the battlefield no one sees. Your mind is either your weapon or your executioner. Most people lose the war before they even begin, not because of external enemies, but because of the voice inside their head. That voice tells them they're not good enough. That voice replays past failures. That voice predicts future disasters. That voice convinces them to quit before they start. And most people believe it. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." He understood that the real battle is internal. The external world will always bring chaos. People will betray you. Plans will fail. Circumstances will shift. But none of that matters if you control the narrative in your mind. The Stoics practice this daily. They question their thoughts. They reframe their fears. They refuse to let their minds spiral into victimhood. When Marcus faced betrayal, he didn't tell himself a story of weakness. He reminded himself that betrayal reveals character, and that his response was all that mattered. When Epictetus faced pain, he didn't tell himself he was suffering. He reminded himself that pain is temporary, and that his perception of it was the only thing he controlled. Your inner dialogue shapes your reality. If you speak to yourself like an enemy, you will live like one. If you speak to yourself like a warrior, you will become one. So master your inner dialogue. Challenge the negative voice. Replace it with discipline. Reframe obstacles as opportunities, because your mind is either your prison or your power. This level of discipline, mental, emotional, strategic, is the same discipline required to build true independence in life. Some people apply it only internally. Others apply it to their income, their work, their freedom. If you want to see how Stoic principles translate into real-world independence, the program linked below shows exactly how, step by step. Rule 6. Live below your ego. The sixth rule is about pride and what it costs. Most people are enslaved by their ego. They need to appear successful. They need to be seen. They need to be respected. So they buy things they can't afford. They live lives they don't enjoy. They sacrifice freedom for appearance. And they call it success. Seneca was one of the richest men in Rome. He had wealth, power, influence, but he practiced something most people refuse to practice. He lived below his means. He fasted regularly. He wore simple clothes. He spent nights sleeping on the floor, not because he had to, but because he refused to be controlled by luxury. He wrote, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor." Your ego wants you to prove yourself, to show the world you've made it, to buy the car, the house, the watch, the lifestyle. And every time you do, you become more dependent, more trapped, more enslaved. The Stoics understood that freedom comes from needing less, not having more. If you need luxury to feel successful, you are not successful. You are insecure. If you need status to feel respected, you are not respected. You are performing. If you need validation to feel worthy, you are not worthy. You are dependent. Lie below your ego. Spend less than you earn. Need less than you have. Build freedom, not appearance. Because pride is expensive. Discipline is free. Rule 7. Build skills, not excuses. The seventh rule is about investment. Real investment. Most people invest in comfort, in entertainment, in distraction, in things that depreciate. The Stoic invests in himself. Epictetus said, "First learn the meaning of what you say, and then speak." He meant this. If you want to be strong, you must become competent. You must develop skills. You must build value. Not for applause, not for recognition, for independence. Most people spend their lives waiting for opportunity, waiting for someone to give them a chance, waiting for life to get easier. The Stoic does not wait. He builds. He learns. He practices. He improves. He becomes the person who doesn't need permission. When Seneca was exiled, he didn't complain. He studied. He wrote. He used the time to become sharper. When Marcus faced war, he didn't panic. He learned strategy. He trained his mind. He turned pressure into preparation. The modern world is full of excuses. I don't have time. I don't have resources. I don't have support. The Stoic doesn't care. He builds skills anyway, because skills create options. Options create freedom. Freedom creates strength. Stop making excuses. Start building skills. Invest in yourself relentlessly, because the strongest version of you is not given. It is built. Rule 8. Become comfortable being alone. The eighth rule is about solitude and the strength it creates. Most people are terrified of being alone. They need noise. They need distraction. They need people around them to feel okay. And that terror makes them weak. Marcus Aurelius spent years on campaign, surrounded by soldiers, advisors, noise. But he practiced solitude daily. He wrote, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." He understood that solitude is not loneliness. It is clarity. When you are alone, you face yourself. You see your thoughts. You confront your fears. You strip away the performance. And most people can't handle that. So they run, they scroll, they fill every moment with distraction. The Stoic does the opposite. He seeks solitude. He sits with discomfort. He uses silence to sharpen his mind, because solitude reveals truth. It shows you who you are when no one is watching. It forces you to build strength internally, not externally. If you cannot be alone, you're not independent. You're dependent on stimulation, validation, distraction. But if you can sit in silence, comfortable with your own thoughts, unshaken by the absence of noise, you become unbreakable. Practice solitude. Embrace silence. Become comfortable with yourself. Because the man who is at peace alone is at peace everywhere. Rule 9. Act without motivation. The 9th rule destroys the biggest lie of modern culture. The lie that you need to feel motivated to act. You don't. Motivation is emotion, and emotion is unreliable. It comes and goes. It rises and falls. It abandons you when you need it most. The Stoics didn't rely on motivation. They relied on discipline. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "At dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, I have to go to work as a human being." He didn't wait to feel motivated. He acted because it was his duty. Epictetus taught that the obstacle is not the lack of desire. The obstacle is the belief that desire is required. Most people fail because they wait. They wait to feel ready. They wait to feel inspired. They wait for the perfect moment, and they never act. The Stoic acts without motivation. He acts because he committed. He acts because discipline is more powerful than emotion. You will not always feel motivated. You will not always want to do the work. You will not always feel inspired. And that is irrelevant. Do it anyway. Build the habit. Honor the commitment. Act regardless of how you feel. Because discipline doesn't wait for motivation. Discipline creates momentum. And momentum creates strength. Rule 10. Build something that outlives you. The 10th and final rule is about legacy. Real legacy. Most people consume. They take. They use. They waste. And when they're gone, nothing remains. The Stoic builds. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire and wrote a book that has survived 2,000 years. Not because he wanted fame, but because he wanted to leave something true. Seneca created wisdom that still teaches millions. Epictetus, a slave, built a philosophy that freed minds across centuries. They understood that strength is not just personal. It is generational. True strength creates. It builds. It contributes. It leaves something behind. You don't need to write a book. You don't need to rule an empire. But you do need to create. Create value. Create systems. Create knowledge. Create freedom. Build something that doesn't die when you do. Because the weakest life is one that takes without giving. The strongest life is one that builds without needing credit. Stop consuming. Start creating. Because true strength doesn't end with you. It outlives you. Act 3. Integration and transformation. So now you have the 10 rules. Accept pain or remain weak. Control yourself or be controlled. Detach from praise and criticism. Eliminate emotional dependency. Master your inner dialogue. Lie below your ego. Build skills, not excuses. Become comfortable being alone. Act without motivation. Build something that outlives you. These are not suggestions. They are requirements. If you want to be strong, you must live them. Not occasionally, not when it's convenient. Every day. Because Stoicism was never about suffering. It was about independence. The Stoics understood that a strong mind creates a strong life. That discipline creates freedom. That internal power creates external options. And that's the part most people miss. They think Stoicism is about enduring a bad life. It's not. It's about building a life so strong that nothing can break it. A life where you are not dependent on a job you hate. A life where you are not enslaved by debt. A life where you are not controlled by fear. A life where you have options, where you have leverage, where you have freedom. And that requires more than philosophy. It requires structure. It requires strategy. It requires action. Some people apply these principles only to survive. They endure. They tolerate. They accept. Others apply them to build, to create leverage, to generate income, to design freedom. The difference is not intelligence. It's direction. If this philosophy resonates with you, understand this. Strength without direction becomes frustration. Some choose to apply Stoicism only to survive life. Others apply it to build leverage, income, and freedom. If you're ready for the second path, the training link below is a practical extension of everything you've just learned. No pressure, only direction. The choice is yours. You can continue living the way you've always lived. Comfortable, distracted, dependent, or you can become the strongest version of yourself. The Stoics gave you the map. The rules are clear. The path is brutal, but works. So stop waiting. Stop hesitating. Stop hoping life will get easier. It won't, but you can get stronger. And when you do, everything changes.